Blessed love and peace. We're going to share a wee bit of ditty, an anecdote of this afternoon, just in the past few minutes. Uh, Share some of the experience here. No trespassing. We didn't put up that sign. Um, One, this is the scene from before. You might notice if you're doing a comparison that the bush, the weeds or whatever that was along adjacent to the sidewalk are now removed. There was a pile of debris, the brush and everything that was removed, stacked up next to it. So when I leave, to be honest, it looks like an endeavor of covering up the tracks. To be honest, what does it look like? At the moment, the debris has been removed, so now it's just like the clearing of the bush. The thing about it, though, is that those bushes and everything have been there for years. Different levels of overgrown, but it hasn't been removed like that before. So, and even presuming or entertaining the scenario of there being some intentionality of covering tracks or like changing the appearance of the scene or whatever to make it less noticeable or whatever, that actually may be for the positive. It may be intended as a way of like covering up like guilty tracks, and it can be also attributed to endeavoring some type of support or acknowledgement or otherwise. Again, all these passive aggressive things, whether it's positive or negative, are difficult to definitively decipher because everybody is enveloped in the predatoriness. Everybody's enveloped within the imperialism. The degrees, the severities of immediate hostilities, and additionally might fluctuate from time to time, from spot to spot. But the general culture is one of division, and so the nods of solidarity and the nods of hostilities are very difficult to distinguish from each other, just as a basic happenstance. So that puts a pause on accusations as well as affections accordingly, and because that's one of the reasons why we're further quiet. And it's not a matter of hiding or shying or fearing conditions, but we have increasing vulnerability because we don't have weapons, we don't have offensive things to like take out whatever per se. So we have to be further proactive in keeping distance and safety, and that includes being mindful of the conditions, because much of it is orchestrated by kinfolk who are from other spheres of the socioeconomic hierarchy. So it's not kinfolk doing it themselves, but working through channels and buffers. So that's one thing. Now the situation from this afternoon, just as I'm walking by from the Wi-Fi spot just a few minutes ago, to give an indication of like the nasties of the scene here. So again, recognizing that this is where I stay, the village where we stay. It's like if people know like the hot spot to where to get weed, the hot spot to where to get marijuana, the hot spot to where to get heroin or whatever, like the places to go to for that. This is the location kinfolk go to for pedophilia and sexual trafficking. It's plain as day, and so that's what this spot is known for, and it's very subtle. And the thing is, it's mainstream, ordinary looking people that are some of the most prominent practitioners and perpetrators of these aggressions and atrocities. So that being said, to give you an idea, didn't record it. I'm walking now. I returned from out of town yesterday, and just within the past, should I say 3 days, since Friday, actually since Saturday, I was walking on Shabbat. So Shabbat car runs up on me unnecessarily, but in a passive aggressive way. Runs up. It's a.m., 9 a.m. There's hardly anybody here. It's a shopping restaurant district. Most everything is closed. There's not very much traffic, but all of a sudden here comes this vehicle that makes a left turn into the driveway right up on me. Not even like in front of me, but like right up on me, and like threatening to continue on. But doing it like in a half lackadaisical way, like not yelling at me, not honking or whatever else, not even looking at me. When I stop and I look right at the driver, because I usually don't do that. I usually just keep on going because I'm not trying to be static with it. But on this particular occasion, it was just so obvious kinfolk was run up on me. I stop and I look, and the kinfolk they stopped and didn't hit me, but didn't look at me either, just looked in the other direction. And to be honest, it looked like it was a woman, can't say for certain. Maybe wearing a wife beater, what people call a wife beater, short haircut, natural haircut, or whatever. But anyways, would not look at me. looked directly, not even that at the road, just stopped and just looked to the side and down, like in a submissive way. But at the same time, driving a multi-ton, perhaps, I don't know how these joints weigh, but a heavy vehicle, a lethal vehicle, in an aggressive way. But then looking passive, and that's part of the psychosis of society today, where people who consider themselves very genteel, very nice, and everything else, um, are active in the leading causes of death directly, car accidents, and additionally these ways of being aggressive. And it just takes a slight variation or a slight moment of indiscretion or frustration or whatever else, and all of a sudden this genteel, middle-aged, elderly, whatever, who has never heard a fly, all of a sudden is a mass killer of 3 people in a blink of an eye. Even if when it's a road rage of instantaneous type of precipitation. So these are the conditions. Now on that occasion, I continue walking on, and there it is. That was on Saturday. I come back yesterday, which is Sunday, Domingo, and as I'm crossing the street, I have the light. It's a green light, crosswalk, I'm walking, and all of a sudden another car is making a left turn from the main street onto the cross street, coming from the same direction I'm walking, and then runs up on me, and then actually acts like it wants to like veer around me to continue going. At which point I slam the hood. I hit the hood. I shouldn't be able to do that. I'm in the crosswalk, walking with the light. I hit the hood. Now that's a little bit, I'm very careful about doing that, but it got to be that point. Anyway, that was yesterday evening. And then today, just a few minutes ago, I'm crossing the notorious intersection where it's a regular thing. At least when it was construction, it was every time, 95% of the time, people are running the light. People are hitting left turns early, cutting people off. 95% of the time. That's not hyperbole. Particularly when there was reconstruction and there was a detour, people were directed another way. Maybe they were frustrated. They felt entitled, like they've been put out of their way, so now they can do whatever they want. Particularly to pedestrians. Come on, blah blah, little pedestrians. So that was this past year, thereabouts. But it's been that way for a long time. So as I'm going through that intersection just a few minutes ago, again, another car is running the red light and has to swerve onto the other side of the road to avoid hitting me, because I'm in the crosswalk. I'm walking, and I look like I'm the one who's agitated. I look like I'm the one who's being provocative and impositional and everything else. Couldn't I just let that person continue to run through the red light? Not even a matter of like abiding by like traffic laws or whatever, but like I look in many people's eyes as the one who's inconsiderate, and I'm the one who's belligerent and trying to prove my point of walking through the crosswalk. First of all, that crosswalk is extremely quick. There's few seconds. And very often, kinfolk are in the middle of crossing the street and the light changes. So, like, that's one thing. But even other, like, the sister, whatever she is, a sister, knowing she's running the red light, doesn't see any vehicular traffic. She should see me right there at the crosswalk. So she's factoring that into her decision of not giving a fuck and going through the intersection. But I'm supposed to be considerate and not be belligerent and continue to walk on and just let it happen and whatever else like that. So anyways, that does something. It does something. And so as I continue on, and particularly amidst still dealing with this situation where cats done run up on us, and additionally in the past week, that's what we're dealing with. And it's the mentality of the kinfolk all around know what's happening. It's not paranoia. Kinfolk know. Which is one of the reasons why kinfolk are so quiet at this moment, we presume. That being said, we continue doing what we do, and one of the things we do is ask people questions, conversational questions. Sometimes it can be snarky questions, sometimes it can be very provocative questions. We got somebody who wants to talk up now. People can talk up all they like. It's cause and effect, just recognizing that. And when kinfolk are living in cityfied ways amongst each other, it's amplified, it's multiplied, that cause and effect experience. So continue on with this, and we can point the finger at me about all the cause and effect. And additionally, and I already said, all of this is a projection of the theater that I put out, so, and that we put out. So what you complaining about? Blah, blah. Anyway, So we ask questions, and we do it for a number of reasons. Um, it's always shared with a constructive, redeeming purpose. It can be very challenging, and the question we pose today is challenging. So the question is, American identity is unsustainable. Yes or no? American identity is unsustainable. Yes or no? So the first person that is in immediate proximity is talking on the phone on the or presumably talking on the phone on one of the benches off the sidewalk. So I just say, "Excuse me, Brendan, I got a question for you." He's like, "What?" First he says like, "Yeah, what's up?" And then he's like, "Oh, on the phone." So I just say the question. I say, "American identity is unsustainable. Yes or no?" And he just shakes and just ignores me and continue on. That's understandable. Um, Maybe somewhat provocative and belligerent or whatever else. These are the conditions. Um, so I said, I'll take that as no. Actually, I'll take that as a yes. So I continue on. The next person who is visible on the sidewalk, this is the purpose for me sharing this at this moment, where I got caught. I got caught. Ooh, I got caught. Trapped. So I'm just going to describe the scene. There's a rack of clothing, secondhand clothing presumably. The front of the rack that's visible on this side where I'm walking, it's either it's bras or it's swimsuits, but it's underwear that's just on a hanger on the sidewalk where everybody walks. The door is open to the shop. It's a popular shop. People go there for artificial multiculturality. Anyways, I'm not saying names, so um, it's all kosher. Anyways, um, there's a young kinfolk by the rack, kind of just toying with the hanger that has the bras and everything else on it. And that's it usually is like dresses or some things like that. But on this particular, and there were some other clothing items on the rack, but right in that front part is bras or whatever else. That's another reason for me stopping, or whatever, but it's just another person. The actual reason for me stopping is because I'm presuming that person is actually a staff member of that store. It's a young looking person. I'm thinking the way people hide their identities and everything, their pronouns, and additionally, it looked like it's a young sister, maybe late teens, early 20s, like a hipster kind of haircut or whatever, looking androgynous and ambiguity and everything. So that fits. That's what the scene is here. So I'm comparatively indifferent to who it is. It looks like it's an adult, or at least someone who's over the age of 18, thereabouts. Um, and looks like they're selling something, because the way they're dealing with the clothing on the rack or whatever, they're just standing there, not even looking to buy or anything. They're just like standing aloof and just fidgeting with the hanger. So then I begin to pose the question to the person. I say, "Excuse me," and again, presuming it's a young sister. "Excuse me," and then I say, "Question for the day, American identity." And then even before I've even finished, the person goes into the side of the and goes into the store. And it just so happens that there are two people at the cash register, which is right at the door. The first person is an auntie, probably the grandmother, and in seeing the person further up close, the person that I directly talked to looked like a young boy, maybe 11, 12 years old, who was playing with the underwear, the bra, and everything else on the rack. So then now I look suspect. I went up to talk and initiate a conversation with the young boy who was playing with the underwear on the rack on the sidewalk. So now I'm looking all like type of suspect. So I just continue asking the question. I pose it to the grandmother. Now she's looking all types of shock, and it's all types of bullshit, because she is pimping her children, is what she's doing, and it's not trying to draw attention away from what I'm doing or whatever, but that's what it is. It's that little hint. It's that little suggestion of own parents, mothers and fathers, shopping their own children. Him playing with the bra and everything else like that is advertisements, because this is what it is. It's brothels here, and arrangements, and that's one of the subtle cues of how it's done, signaling and otherwise. So now, but the thing is, women are the best actors and con artists, and additionally, and women are beautiful and amazing nurturers and providers as well. But the grandmother just looked shocked at me, like she doesn't know what's going on. What is this? Who are you? What are you talking about? She didn't look threatening or angry. She just looked like completely bewildered, like, yo, what is this? She summons the young brethren, the young nephew to her further. There's another young man, maybe about my age, maybe a little bit younger, who's standing behind the auntie, and then there's two people at the cash register. So there are four people inside, whilst the young brother is outside playing with the bras and panties, presumably panties or swimwear, out on the rack. And with me approaching, then it looks all types of suspect or whatever else. So I continue with the question: American identity, sustainable or unsustainable? Or I said, American identity is unsustainable. Yes or no? And again, it's just complete bewilderment. Now I don't stay. I don't try to explain myself or whatever else. I let it speak for itself, because it's all type of suspect on that part. Even just like, why are you letting this young veteran play with bras and brassieres and whatever else on this rack? I told the clerk, because they're going to say he's harassing our customers, this, that, and the other. That's the way. That's the ploy. That's part of the setup. But the fact is, I let it be. No, you're selling on the streets, and you invite the streets in. I fumbled with the words a little bit, but basically, I'm like, before you even think about like tripping, because this is all part of like in the psychotically accused assessment of the scene. It was a premeditated kind of joint, and it doesn't have to be some master plan kind of thing. It's just like when we see he's out and about, let's do this scenario that we talked about before. It's plain and simple that way, and it's very accessible. So anyways, before even thinking about trying to like call police or say harassment or whatever else, you put your rack on the street where everybody walks, and thus you have your door open and you invite people to address people accordingly. So because this has been done before, this kind of setup thing has been done before, and at this point, like the setup is just so suspect. It's easier to call out at this point. It's not even a matter of being embarrassed or otherwise. It's just like, you are suspect. This whole thing is suspect. Let's talk about this. Yeah, let's do accusations. Recognize also the costs and the consequences of false accusations as well. And that goes for us too. That's why we have to be very mindful. But at the same time, we have to be very dutiful in calling out the atrocities for what they are too. So, anyways, that was the second person, and didn't get a definitive response one way or the other. Just the look of bewilderment. I continue walking, and we'll see how that plays out. Third person I talked to is a brethren who's on a bench, and kinfolk can make a lot of different presumptions about who he is, what he's about, and additionally, from being a derelict homeless to being a boss kingpin. That's the spectrum. All that being said, ask him the same exact question: American identity is unsustainable, yes or no? I'm sharing it in a friendly way, as friendly as can be in that respect. And he's very nonchalant. I mean, he's very responsive and immediate. He's like, what do you mean by unsustainable? And I said, well, people talk about unsustainability these days, like fossil fuels or things like that. So the consideration is whether the American identity itself is unsustainable. I didn't have to say much after that. He was like, yeah, I agree. I'm like, well, I appreciate your honesty and courage. I just spoke earlier this afternoon about giving these street surveys and sharing it long enough until there's an affirmative response that proves our point, and scientifically proven at that point. But that's self-deprecating sarcasm, which is an extremely rare and valuable methodology of humor, presumably. Anyways, there's that. Particularly when dealing with these types of situations and being accused of being all types of belligerents. And then, how is he cracking jokes amidst all of this? It gets grim up north, and the block is hot. That's how. That's the conversation we had earlier today with brethren, kinfolk, who are very enamored by the technology that we utilize. But we have to share the reminder. Did you hear the crash? Did you see what I showed you? You see what's going on here? We use the things that we use by the grace of the Most High. We don't own it. Ain't no guarantees. But for the moment, whilst it's in our hands, we utilize it to the best of our ability amidst all the indiscretions and otherwise. So, it's not worth dying over, but that's at the same time, it's not worth being walked over for either. Does that make sense? So, it don't make too many dollars. High rate of amortization. Endeavoring to explain goodwill as a line item in accounting, as an abstract asset of corporations, similar to brand equity and other types of imaginings that are quantified in monetary terms, quite lucratively very often as well. Billions spent, invested. So, that being said, the leaves are changing. How visible is it? We're at the beginning stages of the autumn. Here in Ortho. That would be Ohio and North Ohio, Northeast Ohio all together. Ortho. In the Cuyahoga, what we say. All things to praise the Most High, Elohim, blessed love and peace and Rastafari.